Am I audible? Okay. So, hello everyone and welcome to our session on powering up with AMP. My name is Ayush and we are here on the behalf of DSC MAIT. So, we will just wait for 1 minute and then we'll start our webinar. Okay. So, a very good evening to everyone. Before starting the session, I would like to introduce myself. So, to those who don't know me, my name is Ayush Parashar and I am a core member of DSC MAIT. Currently, I am third year CSE mate, and I am a web developer and an aspiring cloud computing enthusiast. So I had started my web development journey from second year itself. So I always try to find new technologies in web development like AMP, PWA, and new JavaScript frameworks, etc. So being apart from all the conventional front end, back end, and data stacks, everything. So if you like to connect with me, so you can connect via LinkedIn on this link. So, okay, here's the agenda for today. We'll be learning about introduction to the session and what is AMP, where it is used, why actually it is getting used, and different formats of AMPs, some restrictions or pitfalls of AMP, and the various components that we could integrate into our simple HTML to make it AMP HTML. And last but not the least, we will be doing a demo for making our own first AMP and then some doubts, if any. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so first of all, the basic question is that what is AMP? So most of you don't know about this, so we are hence conducting a session for this to elaborate in this. So AMP stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages. AMP is a web component framework to easily create user-first experiences for the web. Actually, AMP was started firstly on the basis of the mobile experience only, and then it came shifted to both mobile as well as web development both. So Google AMP is an open source technology aimed at providing fast loading mobile website experiences. So with an average page loading of time less than 1 second, or to be specific 0.84 seconds something. So Accelerated Mobile Pages is an open source project to ensure that mobile web pages operate at optimal speed. And it was first developed in 2016 as a counterpart or a competition to Facebook Instant Articles. Facebook Instant Articles was launched in 2015. So the question comes that who else uses AMP? Because AMP is a widely used phenomena right now. So it has brought a lot of companies on board, especially those seeking less loading time and instant functionalities, majorly publishing websites like the news websites, CNBC, India Today, Times of India, Hindustan Times, etc. and all. So since its launch, almost 25 million domains have been published and more than 4 billion AMP pages have been published via these domains only. So as you can see on the left that there are some of the success stories ranging from CNBC to Wire to India Today, Washington Post, Razorpay, and on and on. So you can also check about all the success stories in the AMP development documentation itself. There is a section called success stories. So these are only a few of them in the left, as you can see. So is it really worth using? Because there are everyday new technologies coming like React and then JavaScript frameworks that GraphJS and all. So it is just a burden on our curriculum or our skill set, or is it really worthful? So the answer would be yes, it will be definitely worthful because according to the data collected, 40% of the consumers leave the page that takes longer than just 3 seconds to load. I repeat, just 3 seconds. And these customers never come back to the website again after the disaster experience. So, what should I say? That average mobile takes around 19 seconds to load over a 3G connection. So, most of us just that clicking, it is loading, and thus exit. We don't even wait for the content to get loaded, and 61% of the users are unlikely to return to a mobile site that they had trouble accessing, as I had already said. So the primary results have shown that there has been a 20% increase in sales conversion rates and 10% year-over-year increase in AMP sites traffic, and overall 60% increase in pages per visit. So as you can see in the right, we have some average engage time, the AMP content, the AMP website's content. The average engagement time of the consumer is 48 seconds, whereas in the normal cases, it is just 36 seconds. for standard mobile web content. So here are some of the use cases of AMP in the sticky notes, in the purple sticky notes. So as you can see that due to the speed of AMP, it improves your website SEO. SEO is search engine optimization. You must have heard about it, and everyone is just competing to get on the top of the SEO list, whether it is DuckDuckGo, Google, or any other searching engines. So load time is a very important factor for SEOs. And if your target users are people using mobile devices, then AMP is definitely going to help you because it is strictly what we say prioritizing mobile devices only. So opportunity to decide how to present their content and what technologies vendor to use while maintaining and improving KPIs, the key and I would like to just emphasis on the chart which is shown in the left. As you can see that India is extreme right of the chart, extreme right top. That means that as you can see from the axis, it is 400% for mobile audience as percentage of desktop. That means that if one person has a PC or a laptop, in respect to that, four people have mobile and they are accessing the net or web via mobile only. So you can see that there is 400% of Indian audience, whereas only 100% in UK and US. This means that the number of people using PCs and laptops is far or less or roughly equal to the mobile users that are consuming web content. And there are other countries also like France, Germany, Canada. They are all residing on the left side of the chart, but the main three countries, that is mostly Asian countries like Indonesia, India, and even from the Mexico, the western sides. So they are consuming more mobile audience content. So how can you just verify that this is an AMP site or not? So this works for mobile only. So as you can see, there is a green bold icon, and right next to it, it is written AMP. So that means that it is an AMP page. So AMP pages always show an bold sign, lightning bold sign, right next to the websites. So how does AMP work? AMP pages are built with three core components: AMP HTML, AMP JavaScript, and AMP CDN or AMP cache, as we can say. So first of all, AMP HTML. AMP HTML is essentially HTML only, just basic HTML, just with some restrictions for reliable performance. There is a trade-off between some restrictions and the mobile loading time, and most tags in AMP HTML are regular HTML tags only. However, some HTML tags are replaced with AMP specific tags. So there is lots of tags and AMP HTML. It is nothing to worry about. It is just like if you have used HTML, there is a tag for image. So instead of just image, there is a special tag in AMP which is called AMP image. So there are some restrictions and some specifications for converting a normal HTML to an AMP HTML. So these custom tags are called AMP HTML components, and they make common tag patterns easy to implement in a performant way. So AMP pages are discovered by such search engines and other platforms by these AMP HTML tags only. Next, it is AMP.js or AMP JavaScript. The AMP JavaScript library ensures the fast rendering of AMP HTML pages. The JavaScript library implements all the AMP's best performance practices such as inline CSS, the font triggering, the manage resources loading, and gives you the custom HTML tags to ensure a fast rendering. AMP.js makes everything from the external resources asynchronous, like meaning that they are already going parallelly, and so that nothing on the page can block anything from rendering. It is not like just coming and waiting the first come first serve pages like normal JavaScript. It is all asynchronous. So the third and the last component of AMP is AMP CDN or Google AMP Cache. It is used to serve cached AMP pages. The proxy AMP cache is content delivery network. So it is used for delivering all valid AMP documents. There is a condition for whether the document is AMP valid or not. We will learn about this in the later. So the AMP cache features AMP HTML pages, and they caches them and improve the page performance automatically. These three components work in unison to make the AMP work and provide streamless and rendering in a fast way, so that the mobile websites are just working seamlessly. So there are three steps for working of AMP. Like first is the Google crawler comes to a website to scan the website for content. It is but obvious that the crawlers they are just finding on the website. If you search that cricket, so the Google crawler will search entire library, the entire list for keywords like cricket, ball, bat, and everything related to that. So the next step comes that the crawler finds a special link to the AMP version of websites. So there is a priority list. First, Google searches all the AMP websites, and when the AMP websites are over, then the normal HTML comes. So here comes the prioritizing in the SEOs, the search engine optimization. So thanks to that, that it knows that the static version of the website for mobile devices is available at direct URL addresses. After that, the Google scans the AMP version of website and saves a static version of it and uploads it to its own server, and then it is shown to us by the consumer or the users. So here it is a normal difference between a typical web page and an AMP page. So the typical web page consists of regular HTML, unlimited CSS, and JavaScript, whereas there are some restrictions and some modifications in AMP pages, like regular HTML becomes AMP HTML, and there is not a unlimited access to CSS. There is only a lightweight CSS framework, and there is a limited JavaScript. Next, there are four formats of AMP. So, and while using AMP, you are not just limited to AMP websites only. You can make AMP websites, AMP stories, AMP emails, and even AMP ads for monetizing the apps or the websites. So, as you can see, the four formats: AMP website, web stories, emails, ads. So as I was earlier saying that there are some restrictions. So basically most of the companies have to face a trade-off between whether they have to use the unlimited CSS or the unlimited JavaScript, or they have to compromise on the loading speed and just uh, steer through the mobile audience targets. So as with anything, AMP is not perfect and has its downsides. So only Google Analytics supported that too for just WordPress till now. And there are some particular AMP sites which are also considering Adobe Analytics, but nonetheless only two and not more than that. And there are some slow loading of video contents. Apart from video, everything is just seamlessly working, but for videos, that too, not just YouTube videos, the videos that you are providing from AWS buckets, the S3 buckets, or any third party storage devices, that videos will be loaded slowly. And there is a limited feature and widgets of HTML and CSS, and there is no third-party JavaScript or API can be used. That is a major trade-off, that we cannot use APIs in this AMP HTML. But there are most of the components that like components AMP YouTube, AMP Twitter, that could be used in AMP websites, and there are no need of any APIs or anything. Hmm. So this is the part where I was saying that AMP has to be a valid or an invalid AMP site, and it is actually the AMP validator that comes into this place for verifying whether it is a valid site or not. So AMP cache comes in with a built-in validation system that confirms a page is guaranteed to work, and it doesn't depend on external forces, which could slow down the page loading process. So an additional version of validation system is available alongside every AMP page. So this version is able to log validation errors directly into the browser's console from the Control Shift I like inspect element. So whenever the page is rendered, enabling you to see the complex changes in your code that can have an impact on the user experience or the performance. So this is actually called AMP validation. So there are three methods where you can validate your site whether it is fully AMP valid or not. So the first is that you can enable the AMP validator by turning on the developer mode. So for example, if you have an URL of, let's say, C user or www.xyz.com/index.html, and you have to just write hash development is equal to 1, and the validator will automatically open. And the next step is using https playground.amp.dev/validator for your published websites. It is working only for the published website, so you cannot use the validator for websites that are stored in your local PC or any. And third is a Chrome extension, which will be only available for Chrome browsers. So it helps to validate the AMP pages. So here is the AMP validator, and there are three stages. One is the red bolt icon, green and blue. So the red means that simply it is invalid and we will not use this as an valid AMP. It will be treated just as a regular HTML, and green says that it is valid, and yellow means that in processing. There are some warnings, but still it will be considered as an AMP site only. Okay, so now is the time we were all waiting. So the most awaiting moment, that is making our own first AMP page. So we will be making something like this in the image shown. So it will be a normal static web page. So I'll use VS Code for it, and you can use any modern editors or even online IDEs like Glitch, etc. So it will work just perfectly fine. So let me just before the demo, I would like to tell you about some of the restrictions of AMP that we have remembered earlier. So there is one saying that imagine everything as components in AMP website. So just like HTML's box model theory, we will think that the entire AMP page is nothing but just a set of components that we are just combining to our AMP website. And there will be many components like fundamental HTML tags, and further like AMP Twitter, AMP Carousel, AMP YouTube, Lightbox, list, etc. So wait a second, just let me share my screen for the editor. Is the editor visible? Okay. So first of all, I have installed a extension called AMP Validator in VS Code itself. So that helps to write some AMP tags. Like if I write AMP HTML, it just provides me the entire boilerplate. You don't have to just remember it or ratify it. You can just simply write in the documentation's AMP boilerplate, and it will get you all the boilerplate that is shown here. So it is nothing but just remember one thing, that there is change in this. As you can see, we have write HTML and then this bolt icon. Bolt icon lets the browser know that this is an AMP site and not a regular HTML site. So if you cannot just copy paste bolt icon, you can just simply write AMP HTML or HTML AMP. Both will work. And then one thing is important, and like this link relative to canonical and href is equal to .html. So canonical means that if you are using web browsers instead of mobile browsers, you have a regular HTML that will provide the proxy for the AMP estimer site. So let us just start. Okay, so the first thing that I will make is a header class. And I'm making a div. Uh, this is for the sidebar. So I'll just explain one by one what are we typing and what are we exactly doing. So there is a component called AMP sidebar. It is just like a normal sidebar that you see in the that simple HTML files or the simple web pages. There is a top left corner. You see three hamburger sign. That is the sidebar, which shows that contact information, our team information, and anything like that. So change this. So after the sidebar, we will just start with our after the header tag, we will just add an image. So as I said that instead of image, we write amp image. So the all the attributes are same as the image, like source, height, width, layout, and alternate. So we won't use an alternate for this. And for layout, we will use responsive. Responsive means that as you can change the screen, the images also change the screen itself. So height is 420 and width is 380. And for source, I have some pictures in the asset folder. So I'll just say that from asset, take the picture called ocean.jpg. This is our demo dedicated to anything like nature, a normal paragraph. Okay, so we have inserted our AMP image, the AMP sidebar, and now we write AMP carousel. So after writing this, I will just explain each and everything. Don't worry. So AMP carousel is nothing but just a stack of images, one after the another. So source I will write.
Can you increase the font size a little bit, Ayush?
Okay, okay. Now visible. One thing is to note here that the AMP carousel will work only for responsive layouts. Here it is written like layout responsive. It won't work for intrinsic or any other layout, so you have to take care of this. And even you can write layout is equal to responsive in each image system. Okay, so just we provide let's say 520. After it, and now we will write the component called amp YouTube. Amp YouTube is a tag used for embedding YouTube videos directly into our web pages. So you have to write nothing but just a width, height, a layout, and the data video ID. This is the most important attribute in this amp YouTube. The data YouTube ID is the last portion of the URL in the YouTube. So I have an ID. Let's copy it. Next is the AMP Twitter. Just like YouTube videos embedded, we can also embed the tweets itself in the web pages or the websites. So, and you can even interact with the all the tweets like you do normally. So instead of data video ID, there is data tweet ID, nothing else. So I copy the data tweet. You can change the layout to responsive for everything. So it will be more suitable for mobile websites. And what is it? You can even use intrinsic. So if you have to add some social tags like how to contact to you via Tumblr and Twitter, LinkedIn, anything, so you can just add a div. Let me just call it social, and then the main thing comes like AMP social share. AMP social share, it is a single, what we say, a span in which you can just link your Tumblr ID or your email, LinkedIn ID, anything. So you just have to type like it is an email, or you can even say that contact me on email. And here you can write the URL, the particular URL of the. So for email, there is no particular URL right now. I am using the normal height and width. So I'll add 4 social shares, one for email, other for LinkedIn, Tumblr, and Twitter. Okay, so we have covered most of the structure, the bone structure. So as you can see that here is the AMP boilerplate I was talking about. So you can just copy paste it. There is no need to just randomizely ratify all of this. So for header we have seen that random nature stuff. We have made a sidebar which have one hamburger sign, and to close it, and a main important attribute is on. Like you must have seen in simple JavaScript, there is an attribute called onClick. Whenever you click it, the JavaScript they just perform the function that you have written it. So just like that, it is on tap. Whenever you will tap on this, the sidebar will toggle. If it is open, it will be closed, and vice versa. And there is a tab index for both of these, and it is a button. And for this, it is nothing but a normal list, the list item, another list. So I have written our story, types, team, contact us, etc. And for app image, I have already told you. Same for app carousel. One more thing. Uh, if you just write loop here, then it will again and again just loop forever, and it won't just stop. And one more attribute, that is lightbox. I'll just show the magic of lightbox, that just by writing a single word, you will do a thing so amazing that that would take around 20 or 30 lines in a normal HTML page. So I think we have covered almost everything. Ah, Let me share my screen and show how it is looking. Hello. Sorry, I just got disconnected. Ah, this is a website that we have made from app. So for desktop, it is little bit hazy, but for here you can see that for any mobile like Pixel 2, it will go just like magic. And what I was saying for Lightbox, that for example, you touch on this image, so it will just give a movie-like experience for a particular image, and you can just scroll through it. And because of the loop attribute, you can just scroll it forever and forever. And you can see from this, the top left corner, you have all the images piled up. So that is the magic of Lightbox. And here you can see we have embedded the YouTube video as well as a live tweet. You can share this tweet and integrate it. And here is the social share. So for example, if I click on this, so it will say like login, sign up, and everything. You can just connect with it. Basically, the same feature for everything, for every social media via AMP social share. So that's it. And I would like to show you one more thing, that as I had already said that there are some more things like more formats, AMP stories, emails, and ad. So here is a version of AMP stories. So just like the Instagram stories or any story, you can just make a story itself on the web browser. So if I just change the mode for a mobile, see, you can even integrate videos in the story itself like this and create collages, everything just like you can do layouts in Instagram, everything. So I could just show you the code of AMP stories as well if we have time left. Yeah, we can have. Okay, so let's complete it. Ah, this part is the same boilerplate that we are using, and we are okay, better.
Yeah.
Thanks. Huh. So the AMP custom, it is a custom CSS. As I had already said that we could not use unlimited CSS or over the AMP websites and AMP stories. So we have used a style tag, which will be a AMP custom style tag. So basically it's just CSS to beautify our stories. So here comes the main portion, AMP story standalone. Standalone means like it's just like a header to the stack or a linked list. So everything will point itself, the whole story will point itself to the standalone. So it's like the title of the story. So attributes like title, publisher logo, and poster portrait. So I've used the joy of pets as it is already shown that the story is about pets, and we have said the publisher and tutorials. This is just like the metadata in our websites. So you can just say that AMP story. There is a complete AMP story, which is further divided to AMP story pages, just like a book is divided to the pages. And then the page itself is divided to two or three layers, and you can just stack the layers one upon another. So here is the AMP tag called AMP story page. ID cover. The ID shows that whether it is a first page or a second page or a cover. And here it is written that ID is equal to cover, and here it is ID is equal to page one. That means that that is the cover, and this is the next page called page one. And AMP story grid layer. This is the grid layer, and the template is of four types: fill, thirds, horizontal, and vertical. I will show you the difference between that. Ah, this is the cover page, the first. Here the template is vertical, like it will be stacked one over another. First page will come, then the line, this is the first page will come, and so on, just like a stack. And whereas in horizontal template, it will come parallelly, like the word second page and the paragraph, both are coming parallelly on either columns. And this is third page. So here I have used the template called thirds, like the whole story will be divided into three portions. So the third page word itself has the first third, and next is the fill. Fill means that all the components that we are using, they will just randomly fill to the whole story page. Like here we have used the fill. That means the image will be filled throughout the story. So that is the meaning of the template. Then we have used simply AMP image, and you can use AMP videos. Like here in the third page, we have used a video, AMP video, which takes attribute like width, height, poster, layout, and the source. This is the main tag which will be redirecting your video to the AMP stories. Um, just you can just experiment with all these, like you can add pages and play with the templates, the fill, horizontal, vertical, add YouTube videos, embed tweets, Facebook pages, and social share. So if you need anything, you can just go to .dev. This is an amazing site for documentation and everything. You can just have some tools here. Like I said that you don't have to remember the boilerplate. Here is an AMP boilerplate generator. It will give you the entire boilerplate, and if you want to add an image, you can just check this box, check for a video. So basically the main problem, the restrictions that you can see here, that when I check the hero image, you can see that a link has been generated here. So they are just like scripts. Script means that whenever you are using an additional the inbuilt feature of app, you have to write an link or a script which is given by it. For example, if I search app carousel or app carousel, you can see that here it is written required script. Script means, yeah, that you can use the app carousel feature only when you have written the script in the head tag. Okay, so that's it from my side. Wait a second. Okay, we have completed everything. So, is there any doubts or queries or anything? Please just wait for 1 minute if there any. Okay.
Like Ganesh asked, like we inspect the elements generally, what all differences do we get in AMP?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Whenever we use inspect element, we can just first the browser sees that whether it is written app HTML or simple HTML. That means whether the site is app or regular HTML. So the differences that we note, that is the special tags that we have used. Like there is nothing called YouTube tag, but there is a tag in app called app YouTube. So whenever we'll see anything like this, inspect. So you can see the first line, it is saying amp bolt. Bolt icon means amp st. Okay, let me share my full screen. Now, is it visible now? As you can see, the first line, HTML bolt icon means HTML app. The browser knows that this is not a regular HTML. This is now an app HTML. Then you can see the special tags like app sidebar. And when I click on this, you can see our story and everything that we have written, the cross icon. And whenever we use this, the on tap attribute works. And here are some changes. So these are all the things that you can see in inspect elements, and you can just differentiate between a regular HTML and an AMP HTML via you seeing the inspect element only. Okay, so I think all the doubts have been cleared. So thank you so much for attending this session and have a great day. And you can also just connect to our DSC MAIT channel via Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. So thanks a lot.